So I'm going to go back to recording it on the cloud. Okay. So let's go ahead and ask questions. So what would you like?
I would love for you just to run through, like, as you're trying to ask about the emotion code stuff with a horse, I'm feeling really clumsy when I'm doing it. I don't kind of know if I find one that's a yes, do I then stop and kind of begin again? Are you able to kind of do a bit of a kind of mock-up as to how you would do it in real life?
So you've done from your right eyebrow to your left eyebrow this 5 times to turn on your polarity.
I have.
Okay. Yep. And when you're standing up and you're saying, you know, can you please show me my yes, right? And
Yep.
you're leaning forward, please show me my no. Always ask, am I on?
Okay.
And then you can ask emotions about the horse. Are these your horses or like someone else's?
Yeah, my horses for now. And I saw from the video the other day, you said that can be a little more challenging because you're a bit more emotionally invested with your stuff. It's more, I feel really clumsy as I'm going through the chart.
Okay, so let's back up a step. So your personal horses are going to try and block you.
Okay.
It's like, mom already has so much going on over there. I don't want her to know what's going on here. So the easiest and quickest way is to ask about a horse that you're not connected to.
Okay.
But also to ask when you're not in the energy of the horse. Because remember, we only ask one question of the horse when we turn on their polarity, can I work on you today? Everything else we're asking is about the horse. So before you even leave the house, you know, there's usually about 3 trapped emotions you can release a day. So if there's 3 trapped emotions I can release from the horse, is the first one column A? No. So you're not going to say, is it in B? Because you already got a yes that there's 3 emotions, and you got a no on column A.
Okay.
Okay, so then I don't want to read the emotions. When you're looking at that stuff and the horse is moving around or doing something, you're going to be drawn to frustrated or aggravation. You're going to make a judgment. I'm going to try and pull up the emotion code for the background so I don't have to leave. I know I put it in my virtual. So I'll ask, is it in the first box, the second box, the third box? Is it the first one down, the second one down, the third one down? I don't read off.
Oh, so you don't say the words.
I don't say, is it frustration? Is it abandonment? Is it all of that?
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I wasn't doing it that way.
Yeah, and then I'll do, so what's the first one? B3-4, great, write it down. What's the next one? Is it B4-5, you know, and then write it down. So I'll get all 3.
Okay.
And then, you know, in a row, and I'll write them down. And before I go over to the horse, and the same thing with the yin and yang. So if you look in your workbook, it would say, you know, we can do the vitality, the yin and yang, and the emotions. You can write all that down before you even go say hi to the horse.
Yep.
I'm trying to find the emotion code chart for you. Emotion code chart. And we'll go over that. So every person usually has 2 or 3 a day, and every horse. Does that make sense?
It does. So I'm presuming you're not asking about more than that. So you wouldn't say, is there 5 I can release today? You just ask 1, 2, or 3, and then if you get to 3, you'd leave it at that?
Well, you can say, is it, you know, so you're not asking the horse, you're asking about the horse, you know, is it okay? So the older soul horses, you can usually release like 4 or 5, but 3's like good for in a day.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I'm going to give up. I can't find the emotion code chart to show you in the background. Yeah, it's not going to work, so I'm not going to stress about that. Oh, I just had it. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so there's 6 boxes down and there's 5 in each box, right? I'm going to go get my chart. So mine is on a refrigerator magnet.
Oh, handy.
Yeah, they did that so you could actually like use it as the magnet. But I asked, you know, Donna Eden says this is the energy part of your hand, right? We're going from the governing meridian from here up and over to where we can reach on us. But on the horses, you know, you're going from here down along their spine on their governing meridian, right?
Right.
Okay, 5 times saying this horse is now releasing the trapped emotion of abandonment. All thoughts, feelings, and emotion of abandonment are now being released from this horse. This horse is now free and clear of the trapped emotion of abandonment. So I use the power of the words like it's going, and it's gone.
Okay.
And then I'll use my yes, no, did it get cleared?
This may seem a silly question, but for humans, do you have to have like your hair out and stuff? Like, do you want no hair clips and things like that?
You just don't really want any electronics on their body.
Okay.
You know, so in the class, we partner up and we do bladder meridian sweeps on people and we're not touching. So the whole point of watching the Donna Eden is to see that you don't actually need to be touching to open and clear an energy meridian.
Right.
So I kind of blended Donna Eden and Dr. Bradley Nelson and a bunch of different things to make, I call it Mo Betta Fasta.
Yeah.
You know, so he teaches, you know, to look up odd and even rows, you know, and that doesn't work for me. There's 6 down and there's 5 in each box. So if it's not in A, you just wiped out 30.
Yeah.
You know, so in level 2, we start looking at what organ it's affecting. So liver's anger, grief is lungs, fear is kidneys. You know, if you have a very fearful horse, you need to clear some stuff in their kidneys. So we see how it's kind of all tied together.
Right.
So start writing them down and you'll see a pattern. And if you want to start practicing for level 2, because you already, we're going to host that, right? So you already have that work. So when you start doing it, you'll see on the left side, like box 1 is heart or small intestine. That's because they're sister meridians.
Right.
So one will be stressing and pulling from the other one. So if you get B1-3 and A1-4 and B1-2, you've got a lot in this one. You want to see what's being affected, heart or small intestine.
Right.
You'll see a lot of people's health issues clear up because of that. I have a lady with lockdown throat chakra and viral and other stuff that I'm helping. And the first 3 or 4 days in a row, it was all gallbladder. Everything was affecting gallbladder, from inherited female, inherited male, heart wall. It just kept coming up. And to me, gallbladder stress when you're fighting an infection. And I get a yes for something viral affecting blood, muscle, spinal column, and her brain. And I've been helping her. She's in Australia. She's helping me write my new book. If I can do it, you can do it too.
Cool.
Right? Because I just learned all this stuff. And then I'm not an osteopath. I don't say that this bone is mediolaterally rotated 3 degrees posteriorly. I'm just like, if it hurts here, this is how you fix it. And that's the program that I make going all the way through the horse. And it has amazing results, but I just blend so many different things. So when the hooves are out of balance, the horse is out of balance, and they're not going to hold chiropractic. And when the hooves are out of balance, your energy ting point meridians, there's 12 in the hooves, are out of balance. And also, if you look at a people chiropractor chart, if certain lumbar are out, it's related to an organ and the organ imbalance. So none of the other body workers was looking at the whole thing or picking up the hoof of the horse and seeing how off the frog was, or what is the head like, and is the head crooked. And so I just kept taking classes till we could blend all this. But the emotion code is just the start of it. Do your friends, do everyone in your household. So, you know, for family and anyone you're sharing a bed with, you do not need permission, right?
Yeah. Is that strange?
No, it's just because they're family. So it's only other people that, you know, and all I say is, would you like me to work on you sometime? And they say, sure. And because they didn't have to commit to a time and a day, they'll usually say, sure. And I'll say, is that a yes?
Okay.
Once you have that yes, I'll clear friends, and it's like heart wall came up, you know, 15 different times at age 24. What happened at age 24? Oh, that's when my friend committed suicide. Oh, you know, and then it was all broken-hearted stuff and love unreceived at age 42. And I'm like, what happened at age 42? And he's like, that's when my wife said she didn't love me and she wanted a divorce. So it was interesting how you can see the patterns. And with the woman I'm working in Australia, everything came back to 13 years ago where something wasn't okay, and she's really shut down in her throat chakra, and she's working through it all. And the most important thing is, after you get your yeses and nos, asking your vitality. Do you remember that part?
Yes, it was a little humbling the other day after your first Zoom.
We all have your left brain, right, is judgment and multitasking.
Right.
It's the thinking, but it's also the yang side. And the right side is your intuitive and your yin. So if you jog and do wheatgrass and do all these things, you're going to be like, I'm at like 80 or 90. But you hitting a cat, you know, on the way to work, or someone sending you a nasty text that really hurt, you can drop down to 30, 40. So it's getting that, where's my vitality and where am I, before you go work on any people or any horses, because otherwise it's almost like you're a magnet for the negative. Ever worked on anybody else and you felt like crap after?
Yep.
Yep, that's why. So none of my classes taught me how to see where am I, and am I shielded and grounded from all this. And when we actually do the in-person class and you guys feel like all of a sudden I have a headache or sorrow or something's coming up, or I just, you know, I want to leave and I want to go cry, I tell people to come find me, and then we see if it's yours or if you're picking it up from like another horse or a person in the barn. So this vitality thing and being at 90% is really important, because the 30 to 70 range, 30 to about 60%, is an environment that's acidic, and then you can be a host to grow cancer cells. So the whole thing about what is our environment, what is our thought process, do we have judgment on others, is all about getting ourselves to a vibration of where we're up here. So how many healthy healers have you met? 90% or 20%? Would you say?
Usually something going on.
No, but if you see some healers, there's some healers that are really overweight and they don't have the color in their skin, and they don't look like they're walking the walk and talking the talk. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep.
So I teach in my class that we need to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first and take care of ourselves. Whereas women, we're so busy, you know, got to take care of the horses and the kids and the dogs and the this and the that. And then we're trying to find 5 or 10 minutes a day to take care of ourselves. So this whole vitality thing and checking in every day and all the exercises like the tapping, right? So if you put your yes and no on, remember that, please show me a yes, and you lean forward, and no, and back. Okay, right here, collarbones, right in between, in that soft spot in between the ribs, is the 27th point on your kidney meridian. So if one's sore, you're going to have knee issues on that side. So same thing when we do this on the horses. We're paying attention to, does one side go in deeper than the other side? And you're supposed to keep working it until you go in. And if yours are sore, then you're just supposed to keep tapping on them. And people say, how can they get less sore when I'm beating on them? Because you need blocked energy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So as you're doing this and you use your yes, no, is this increasing my vitality? Right? And I'm leaning forward. So those 4 ones that I picked from Donna Eden is right here, your thymus on the bra line and out to the side, the spleen and lymphatics is all about recharging us. The essential oils is all about recharging us. What is it that I need to be at 90% today? Do I need to clear a trapped emotion? Do I need to take some nanozeolites? What is it that I need to be to clear myself to be at 90% today? Questions about that?
No, I think it's maybe more just doing it. Trying to get into a habit of kind of knowing the sequence of things to ask about.
Right, but okay, so if you put your yes and no on and think of one of your horses out there, what's his name?
Casper.
Okay, Casper is the first trapped emotion he can release today. Is it in column A? What does your body do?
I did it before the call and it was a yes.
Did you already clear the emotion?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the first trapped emotions in column A, is it in the first box? And you're not going to look at the words.
Right.
What do you get?
Yes.
Okay, so is it the first one? There's 5 in each box. Is it the first one?
Nope.
Second one?
Yes.
Good. So A, 1, 2, and you write it down.
Okay.
If you say, you know, are you sure? The thing about using divine pendulum is if you get the answer once, you're not supposed to say, are you sure, or ask again. It's like you're doubting.
Right.
Okay.
Can
So
you ask in your head or should you always be asking out loud?
depends on how good you seem to get.
Okay.
So when you guys send me an info for a distance reading and I'm just focused in on the horse, the vitality things just start picking him up in my head. And I'm like writing B3, 4, A4, 2, A4, 5, and then looking up what they are.
Okay.
The left brain that says it can't be that easy and it can't be possible. So remember in the last video I made, there's that show, Robert De Niro, and it's called Meet the Fockers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that little focker on your shoulder and you just go, boop. So it really can be that easy because that's what intuition came from, you know, plants and herbs and medicines and what people put together and poultices is just that knowing of, you know, trying something. So you got A1, 2, okay?
Yep.
What's the next trapped emotion that your horse can release today? Is it in column A?
Hang on, I'll stand up again and do it. I just did the first one before. No, it's column B.
Right. So, and when you get a no for column A, you don't then ask, is it in B, right? So is
Right.
it the box?
No,
Second box?
no,
Third box?
no,
Fourth box?
yes,
Good. Is it the first one in that fourth box?
no,
Second one?
no,
Third one?
no,
Fourth one?
yes.
Okay. So, and that's panic. And if I ask, this is my yes and this is my no for quicker.
Right.
Got some other people that are here. Attendees. I don't know if I have to get people in or not. Oh, hold on. I don't know how to. So Carolina and Ingrid, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, good. As long as we can all keep the background quiet, we can do the talk thing. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to the type in question. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So we were just going through emotion code, column A, column B, how to ask what your horse needs. Does Ingrid or Carolina want to ask any questions about that? Trying to unmute Ingrid.
Oh, where have I gone?
Everybody's on here now?
Yes.
Yes, so I've just lost the picture for some reason. I'm launching again.
Okay, well, as long as we keep the background talking kind of quiet and noise, I can leave all this open and we won't have to sit there and try and type questions and answers. So I'm going over Maria's emotion coding on her horses and making sure she gets the right answers. Okay.
Mhm.
And then continuing on with panic, if you want to ask, this is yes, feels like it's sticky, like I have clear nail polish on that didn't quite dry. So when my fingers come in across this way, it sticks. And a no, this fingernail feels like it was just buffed and it's really slick. So when I'm asking on the trapped emotion of panic on her horse, is it affecting liver or gallbladder? I get gallbladder. And that would tell me that there's an infection going on somewhere in her horse. So Maria, did you get a low vitality when you asked about your horse?
Oh, did I do that one? I might have skipped that one. I think
So
I was so focused on the emotion code.
right, but you can do that right now. Think about the same horse.
Okay.
Got your yes and no's on. Okay. Is his vitality over 30%?
No.
See? And whenever you are in the lows between the 20s and the 40s, it lets me know there's usually bacterial or viral going on in blood systems. We get through that kind of by the end of level 1. But that vitality on the people and the vitality on the horses is going to tell you the biggest story, and other classes don't teach.
Right.
A horse that is shiny and dappled out, and it's got a vitality of 23%, and turn around to the owner and say, so you've got some autoimmune allergy. Oh yeah, we're on all these meds and this and that, because you can bathe and feed the coat, but it doesn't mean that you really have a healthy horse from the inside.
Right.
That makes sense. So that's a huge thing to be able to do. And if you think your horses are going to block you when you're there, just ask from the house, because before you go out, we're all connected.
Right.
You know, so people say, oh, that's, you know, the devil and this and that. I'm like, you're just a stenographer for God. Okay. We're asking for help in healing and wellness and, you know, how to make ourselves and our family better and the horses. And this is just a way to do it. Wow, you're at 60%. You are not ready to get on an airplane with COVID going on. So I always ask my body, you know, before I get on the airplanes and the trips, what do I need to be at 90%? I need to do this, this, and this. Great. And then I have my On Guard and peppermint beadlets first, and I travel with colloidal silver and a nose spray bottle. And I put like a drop in each eye and a snort up each nose. And this was even before the COVID thing, because it keeps me from getting in other stuff. And then what else do I need to stay at 70 or 80% when I'm flying for 20 hours and don't get to sleep? And then as soon as I get to my destination, what do I need to do to get back up to 90%? With your horses, what do we need to do so that, you know, they're at 90%? And you'll see that I talk a lot about the water systems. A lot of my clients are finding that just putting on that little inline hose for a motorhome and one bucket to their horses, that the horses are all going to the filtered water now. And they're noticing that they're drinking more and there's bigger changes. Even just high iron or high calcium water can throw your horse off.
Right.
Is there anything else we want to ask about emotion codes? So for those of you that came late, Dr. Bradley Nelson talks about odd and even rows. I just asked about A or B. Is it in column A? If it's not, I'm not going to ask, is it in B? I'm just going to ask, is it the first box, second box, third box, fourth box? Okay. I teach that you're the tool. If I'm out there with a horse and B42 pops in my head, I'm not going to say, does this horse need B42, right?
Right.
Okay. And the universe knows what B42 is. So I teach that you can be the tool. You don't need to carry all these things. You don't need to carry a magnet. So you just say this horse is now releasing the trapped emotion. That is B42. You know, so if you turn down, this horse is now releasing the trapped emotion. That is B42. All thoughts, feelings, and emotions of B42 is now released from this horse. And this horse is now free and clear of the trapped emotion. That is B42. I would still write it down and look it up, and also look up what organ it's affecting, especially if your horse is in the 20s and 30s.
Right.
So the other one was heart and small intestine on Maria's horse. Vitality like under 35%, right, Maria?
Yeah.
And that's small intestine. So to me, you have something going on in gallbladder and small intestine.
Hmm.
So put your little yes and no on. Right? You're standing up, get your yes and no.
Not yet. Right. Okay.
Okay. If you had one of those inline water filters on, would his gallbladder and small intestine be doing better?
I'm getting kind of a soft yes.
Yeah, so we all have, you know, oh, it's my water and we drink it and it's fine, but copper blocks something, you know, sulfur blocks something. Something is always blocking the absorption of something. So when you want your organs to detox and be clean and healthy and for the horse to assimilate its nutrition program, it's always better if pure water's going in the cells and not bound to any minerals, heavy metals, bacterial, viral, anything like that.
Right.
So if your horses aren't at 70 or 80%, I think they're $5.
Okay. I was looking into.
Sorry?
Was looking into.
You know, and for $5, just, you know, letting the horses choose which one they want to do.
Right.
You don't, there we go. Now Ingrid can kind of talk. So that's the emotions and how it affects the organs. And we look at that more in level 2 when we're looking at all the out of balance of the acupressure meridians and the tink points of the hooves. And it's interesting how the emotion code will actually start to get the meridians running a little bit better. So don't skip the emotion code. Most people have 50 to 80 when they start, and you should be doing everyone in your household. They don't have to be present. You just shrink them down like they're on a little massage table laying down, and you just make them shorter and you mention their name. You know, so-and-so is now releasing the trapped emotion of all thoughts, feelings, and emotions of this trapped emotion are now being released. So if it's heart wall, age 24, insecurity, so-and-so is now releasing the trapped heart wall emotion of insecurity. Does that make sense?
You just cut out. Can you repeat that, please?
We're going to have to go to trying to type in questions because I'm getting so much feedback from mics. Basically how to do it remotely when someone is not there. You just envision that they're laying on their stomach in front of you, you know, so if they were laying down, you're going down their back like that. So I can do my mom, I can do my boyfriend. Is it appropriate to release a on, you know, so-and-so today? Yes. Regular Hartwell inherited, male, female lineage. I know his mom's going through a lot of stuff. You know, so female lineage, emotion, column B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So when I look at B4, 2, frustration. So I would just envision that he's in front of me, and Ted is now releasing the trapped inherited female lineage emotion of frustration. All thoughts, feelings, and emotion of frustration inherited from female lineage are now being released. And Ted is now free and clear of the trapped inherited female lineage emotion of frustration. And then I just use my yes and no for did it get cleared. We have a tendency to try and make it harder than it needs to be.
Do you need a permission from this person?
Not if it's immediate family.
Right.
Sister, brother, mom, dad, anyone living in your house or that you're sharing a bed with, your dogs, your horses. The only time you need permission is when it's someone outside of your house. All you have to do is say, you can work on me sometime. And they say,
Thank you.
and all you need is one yes. You don't have to get a yes every day.
Right. Okay.
And if they don't have to commit to a time or a place, or, you know, just say, I'm taking this really neat course and would you like me to work on you someday? It's about healing, you know, you don't have to do anything, just, and they'll go, okay, sure. And then you say, is that a yes? Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then like a week later, they're like, when are you going to work on me? I already am. They'll just notice their day gets lighter. So when I took that course and I had 242 and you're like, you can only release like 3 a day. This is how long is this gonna take? You know, but it set me into patterns of how you always respond to the same thing and say no to things or feel uncomfortable going to something that would be good for you. But it pushes you. So if you want relationships with your kids, you know, or your spouse, you really need to emotionally. Let's try to go to questions typed in. I've been getting a lot of feedback. Can you type in a question? Down at the bottom of the screen is a question and answer. Or you can try the Zoom webinar chat. Is that working for anybody? Or am I just lost here? So we got, go through the emotion code. Okay, 2 questions and answers. So this isn't working. All right, let's try this again. So what else would you like to work on? Okay, so the yin yang, you guys have your charts?
Yep.
Okay. So on your yin yang, they're all soft points. So it's up in between the ears. So I'm going to use my hand like this. One would be up inside the ear, and then two. So I always start on the left side of the horse. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with 3 and 4 being up here.
Yep.
And just down below like that.
Mhm.
And 5 and 6s is kind of between 15th, 16th rib, and directly below that. So,
But
and
when you're in your house and you're looking at your chart, are you just asking where are the issues with point 1, point 2, point 3, using your yes and no?
so the first time we work on a horse, they usually have yin yang out of balance. It's like when the spirit and the body kind of separates, like when kind of God's gift to when a horse isn't being eaten alive by like a carnivore.
Right.
Like they could, you know, so whenever they fell down in the trailer or got caught up in a fence and thought they were going to die, they kind of separate. So you can have an 8-year-old horse and you're riding him and he acts like a 2 or 3-year-old. And they don't seem to remember stuff. It's because they're not always here. So this is part of putting that back together. So your horse should really only need the defense posture releasing, which is fight or flight, and the yin yang the first time you work on them.
Okay.
So when I would be gone 3 or 4 weeks and I'd come back to my horses, I would ask them if they needed that. And if I got a yes, it means something traumatic happened while I was gone. With my regular clients, I'd be like, okay, what happened since the last time I was here? Because I have more to do today. Oh yeah, he fell down, tied to the hitching rail, pulled it out of the ground and dragged it around the cart. So that yes, no, on if they need it is another huge thing with along that, you know, where is their vitality? Those things are all going to tell you a big story. They're really important. When you're at that yin-yang picture in the book, you just say, this represents my horse. Does he need yin-yang balancing? Yes. Which one point is out of balance on the top? And what are you drawn to? So think about your horse and look at that. Which one is out of balance on the top?
It's a 6.
Good. So north 6, and then you're going to ask which one's out of balance on the bottom. And they don't have to be on top of each other.
It's a 4.
Okay. So north 6 and south 4. Okay. So odd numbers are all on the left side of the horse, and the even are all on the right. So what are you going to do if you get north 1 and south 6? You're going to have someone turn the horse's head around, because right hand always has to be on top and left hand always has to be on the bottom. So you, in the class, I have you write the N and S on your fingers. Okay. So, you know, like this is north, but then this is north and this is south, because they alternate north, south, north, south. So I would have someone bring his head around, and this hand would be way up here. And then I would be here for the 6 if it was like north 1 and south 6. Does that make sense?
Right.
You can also like totally turn around backwards to the horse. You know, so if I was like,
You're doing a good job demonstrating.
I'd be like up here like this, and I'd be back here like this. It doesn't work as well if you're using your south hand on top. So you're just trying to find a creative way to get right hand on top, left hand on the bottom, even if you're backwards to the horse. Once you balance that, they're now able to like assimilate their nutrition better. And when you do this body work, you're going to notice that they get higher in the pecking order in the herd. When you feel like shit, you're just like, you know, leave me alone, whatever. I'm not that hungry anyway. And once you start feeling good, you're like, no, that's my hay pal. Right. This whole yin yang helps them connect in their body, and it helps them to assimilate their feed better. And When it's out of balance, it's almost like a creepy guy in a bar touching you. So the horse will stand there and be bathed and groomed and fly sprayed, but they don't really enjoy it.
Right.
And once you do all this in the defense posture, which is getting rid of the fight or flight, they actually want to be present with you and stay here in their bodies. There's a lot of horses that just check out and leave because they don't like the riding and training and the bits and the spurs and everything that's being used on them. Okay, so your yin-yang should only need to be done once. It should only take about 60 to 90 seconds. They should go or lick. And if they really internalize their emotions, when you leave to go write something on your chart is when they're going to.
Right.
Then you'll notice that all of a sudden your horse likes to be groomed and he's actually standing out and grooming with other horses in the herd. Any questions about defense posture releasing?
Yes.
Your two north fingers, middle finger, right hand, pointer finger, left hand, right? Okay. And
Right.
so when I first took these courses, and then I had an instructor who wouldn't let me take his class for like 2 years because he said I wasn't sensitive enough. I said, well, it's a good thing I'm stubborn because I'm going to find a way to do it anyway. So while I might not feel anything when I'm doing the defense posture like someone else would, sometimes when you go down the horse, it'll just be a dead spot. Dead spot meaning like when you're touching the horse, you can't tell that you're touching a live horse. It could be like a horse hide on the floor. So other times I just use my yes, no. So if I was here, right, I had to learn how to do this without actually having a horse. So up here, right, you're starting at your two farthest points and going up and over to the withers, right? In your defense posture?
Yep.
So at the farthest point, I'm just going to say, please have me lean forward when my finger's on the right spot. Good. And I'm going to come over to this spot, right? Please have me lean forward when it's on this spot. And then I'm just going to hold those two spots. And I'm going to say, please have me lean back when it's done. Eventually you'll get to know when it's done, but how do you get started when you don't know what you're supposed to be feeling?
Mm-hmm.
That whole yes, no is how I taught myself to find the cranial wave and do the yin yang and, you know, did the bone get the release it needed? Where I wasn't as, you know, osteopathically veterinarian skeletal trained and couldn't feel acupressure meridians. But I can still find it and do it. So that's what I teach. That yes, no is really important. Lean forward when you find it, lean back when you can. Any more questions on defense posture or yin and yang?
I have a horse that is like he has a lot of restriction in and around his poll, kind of, I guess, the atlas, and sometimes can be, I know if I were to try and do that move with him, he would want to just be away from my hand. Can it be off the horse for this as well, or are you really, this is a light touch contact? Like I'm not causing him any physical pain, it's more that that's like it's an aversion that he has already.
So, but most of it's head trauma and pullback, and you probably don't have the release spray. You can get ingredients off the dynamite site.
Okay.
And get some rock flower essences. It's not the same as essential oils, but it's really important. I've had a lot of pullback stress. Ever since we went to the knotted rope halter for training, the horses are having a lot more damage up, if I can get in the right place, up there from the halter locking in, right? On the back of the occiput right there and straining the nuchal ligament and this whole area. And And then the halter catches on the back of the occiput and shoves the bone down and forward. So all they're like is don't touch, it hurts.
Right.
So you can be off the body with the bladder meridian, but just try and get up on the defense posture, just kind of rub his neck, you know, and get up just as close as you can without having to fight with him. You can also use yes, no for should I clear a trapped emotion first? Is there something else that would help this horse so that I could do that?
Okay.
Also email me. You should have gotten it in your homeworks. There's a video I made recently on Atlas Access, just that holding that and up and around. You know, so many people are thinking it's such a big move when it isn't. So I'm done with this. Send me an email if you haven't seen that new Atlas and Access, and I'll send it to you.
Great, thank you.
We keep thinking it's this big horse head and I have to use all the strength, and it's not. You know, when you're pushing and you find a spot, you're just there counting to 10, there counting to 10, and just up and like that. It's not a whole huge move.
Okay.
And a lot of times you guys see how I do how I bend it and I do the cross fiber friction up and down.
Yeah.
You've seen me do that on the video.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to do that first. So you bend the horse's head in towards you so that the muscle's short and he's bending in towards you, and then you're coming up and down from the pole down his neck to desensitize it and getting some blood and oxygen in before you can actually do the push to find the spots to release, especially on a chestnut horse. Chestnuts are more sensitive.
What about in the older horses when they are a bit stiff up there, but it's out and they don't really let you move them as much? What would you do then?
But you don't need to move them as much. I'm just going to close up shade blind here because the sun's coming. 1 second. I usually do these in the morning, so we have the sun setting. And so I will email me for the new video and you'll see. So older horses are going to have more arthritis in their neck, right?
Yeah.
So they, you know, do all this. So if the old horse is down here, remember you're just shortening the muscle that much. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're only opening the throat latch. You're not throwing their head up. And when you do this, the occiput catches to the atlas. And when you do this is when it resets it. So you might do that first, but keep their head in low. I'll kind of put them here, you know, I'll just kind of gently go around. So if the horse's head was here and my north finger was here, I would only be coming to shorten it. Just that much to tilt up his chin, and just that much in the up and around.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. What's the next? So we got defense posture, emotions. Joe already knows about essential oils if anybody wants any training with that. I did make an essential oils class too that you guys can have access to if you want ahead of time. Yes?
Cool.
Yep,
Yes.
thanks.
Good.
How many of you are already using essential oils?
Yep.
I've only done the basics, like for antibacterial things, your tea tree oil and a neem and a few other things. So I'm kind of feel like that's an exciting new opportunity.
Okay. So email me for that too. I made it and it's 50 on my website for people that haven't done the class, but for people that are doing the class, I'm giving it to them.
Okay.
Just so you can kind of get started with you and your horses and stuff. And I use the doTERRA essential oils. So you know how we do that lean forward and lean back for where's my vitality? That's what I do with products as well.
Right.
I used to be a rep for Pro Tandem and they went from like a 10 to a 7, and NCD and Wayor is still a good company, but they're having issues. So it's still a good company, but I did find 2 other with nano zeolites. And that's in the distance readings and will be in the upcoming workbook too. But it's still just using your yes and no's, like something's going on in my horse's stomach and I get that it's sour and he needs like a clay, you know, like green clay is really good and calcium bentonite clay is really good for when horses have ulcers to settle their stomach. And it's just muscle testing your products, you know, and when you do muscle test your products, so, you know, if you can put your hand on your hay, you know, what's the vitality of this hay? Is there anything bad in it for my horses? You know, did it get sprayed, you know, the hays and the grains? When I muscle test my clients' products, I'll get, well, this is a 10 and this is a 7 and this is a 3. So when you're, you know, done feeding that up, don't buy that one no more. But then you can bring them all together as a whole. And is this good for the horse? Because sometimes things have to be fed separately to really be absorbed. Like with magnesium should be at night before bed, not in the morning, those kind of things. But you can also ask, is my horse able to assimilate this? When you have crappy feet and crappy hoof walls and thin soles, they're not assimilating their nutrition. So you could be feeding them $20 a day vitamins and minerals, but if they're only assimilating 40%, they're just putting them out. So there's no reason buying a hoof supplement until you do the nanozeolites to pull out the mercury from the vaccinations, the poisons from the wormers, everything that sits in their liver and kidneys and blocks the assimilation of nutrients. So you have the pure water going in from the filtered hoses. It's not 100% pure like reverse osmosis, but it's better than it is. The horse is so overloaded with today's toxins and pesticides that they need some more pure water to help their liver and kidneys flush the toxins out. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I worked on a horse in the Netherlands, a 5-year-old Arab race mare just comes out and this lady wants me to work on her and she's just rearing and pawing and I'm like, not happening today. And I just asked and I said, she needs more magnesium and, oh, I'm feeding it to her. And the lady was really good with yeses and nos. And I said, but ask if she's assimilating it. And she wasn't. And she was also in the cement block stall right on the other side of the hot wire thing that kept going tick, tick, tick. You know, and it grounds right there to where her feet are. So they had to change a lot in her environment before we could actually change and work on her body. Does that make sense? You guys can, is this the right product for my horse and are they assimilating it? The same with yours. When you get into the oil, because it goes right in the DNA of the cell. And it's sort of taking an antibiotic that goes down around the outside. Who's got the barky dogs?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
Which one? Okay. So what other questions do you have about the first 20 or 30 pages of the book? So you're going to email me if you want the Atlas and Axis, and you're going to email me if you want the free essential oils class.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
And what else would you like to go over?
With the bladder meridian and you know how it's like sweeping the chalk off the board type thing, is it something that's beneficial to do daily or just every now and then?
Yeah, we team up in the classroom, and even with everyone clothed and not touching each other, we do 3 swipes because it starts below the eye, so it actually works on vision and hearing as well. And it goes down and down the side of the back muscle, down the outside of the butt, down to bladder 67. And we rub that, and we'll just do one side. And the student's like, well, this side feels light and, you know, and the other side's like, ooh. So it is really important, and it's really important to do both sides. So if your horse isn't holding in the 90%, you know, when you're working on them, it's a really good thing. If you pick up the equine acupressure meridian book, whatever you get, everything's on the bladder meridian. So all the association points of all their organs comes and splits off into two right there. And we block that with a saddle with dead tree and dead cow. We block that whole energy. So as you're running through this and you're opening it, you're turning on his own healing all the way up and over and bladder 67. So it's a really good thing to give horse rescue places, you know, to turn on their own healing. If your horse colics or stresses or is anxious, it's a really good thing to do. We always did it at endurance rides. You know, the horses would haul 11 to 12 hours to go to overnight, because that's the safest time to drive when you're in high volume cities, is to go through at nighttime. And we'd always turn on their polarity and bladder meridian sweeps when we got there to kind of help ground them. And the K27, remember those?
Yep.
On the horses, yeah, clear their kidneys. Anything else? And you guys will have a recording of this as well. So any other, Jo has already taken level 1. If you guys want to connect with her as well as what she saw on the horses, because she signed up for level 2 and 3. And I think Ingrid was as well. So level 1 is all about rebalancing the skeletal system that's been out of alignment since 6 months old. And level 2, we work on the fascia and the organs and everything else that's compensated. And level 3 is about the crooked, smushed heads. And we actually move all those bones back up and stuff, and no one else is doing that. Anything else I can answer for you guys before we take off? Ingrid, Carolina, Maria, Jo?
I feel like I've kind of dominated the conversation today, but thank you for answering all of my questions to date. Thank you.
Well, that's what we needed, lots of questions.
I sent the question in a questions and answers there, but I can ask it again.
Okay. Is that the question of we got into the habit of doing it offside near?
No, it's about, I have a gelding who was injured as a fall. He was stuck in a fence, and then he had a tough life, and eventually I got him, and he's a very good jumping horse, very well bred for that, and strong. So he is handling everything, but his body was, especially in a lumbar part, very like a stone really. And now after the treatment, he's all relaxed. He changed his movement and he's happier, but this part became sore, and he's sometimes walking with his tail to the left side. So I treated him only a few days ago, and my question is if that can happen, like he loosened up that much that now he's sore, or I did something wrong.
Well, you have all the different compensations. So when someone brings a horse to me and it's like lame or stiff or sore, you still need to kind of follow it back to the cause, because the whole body's been compensating. So did you already check those first ribs?
Yes, and I released them and everything really, and he loved it. He had plenty of releases, and he moves much better at the moment. He never been lame. He was his gait, I can see it, his gait was shorter than it's now, but it was not lameness. He was not uneven, just stiff. And at the moment his gait is bigger, but just in the spot on his back, if I run my hands over there, he's sore, and he starts taking the tail to one side sometimes.
Which spot?
It's here.
Right here?
Yes, and what I was told, he stuck in with the legs in the fence, so he pulled this part. Probably he was hanging there for a while, so I can only imagine that he pulled some muscles over there.
Well, you're still going to have spasms and bones out of alignment. So when we lift the mid ribs,
Yeah.
and you're underneath doing it the new way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we're like right here to lift these ribs right here. Both hands are focused right there to lift.
Yes.
And then both hands just split right here. And you want
Yes.
to lifting, you want to almost be like, here's the spine and here's the ribs, kind of a lifting and expanding. So if I was kind of almost pulling it out and lifting it up, does that make sense?
And I've done that. I've even seen like they going up.
Right,
Probably.
you're gonna hold it for a minute. So don't get into
Right.
the stomach too much. But when you lift these, okay, and your intercostals and your ribs all set in here, when you lift and hold it for just a second, as long as he's not uncomfortable, it's actually shifting and lifting and moving the lumbar.
Right.
While we don't do any adjustments on the spine, you are releasing the spine by holding up and stretching the ribs so that they're not so tight together. When you scratch here, this is where you scratch for the yoga belly lifts. Does he spring up very good or is he stuck?
He wasn't at all, and he hated it. But we do the yoga now every day, and he's getting much better. And after lifting the ribs, he is doing it better. I wouldn't say he's perfect. I've got other horses who are like cats, but he's better.
Yeah, so how old is he?
Only 6.
Okay, so is there anything heavy and inorganic in his stomach? So think about the horse and put on your yes and no.
Just a moment. Yes.
Right, so that is going to pull down on the ribs and the spine. So
Yeah.
when we come to asking about the raw organic apple cider vinegar, helps to break down hairless, you know, the stones that grow.
Yeah.
And then sand. So when you see a horse who has this low belly and it's really hard for him to lift, remember every day we have to release the ribs because we're standing on 4
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you know, this coming up also has to do with what's going on in here.
Right.
And some horses at early ages, that when they were teething, they would chew on plastic and twine on hay and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They ingest it, and then the body surrounds it with mineral or calcium,
Right.
and it starts to make the enterolus, the stone. So we ask backwards, does your horse need, does he need apple cider vinegar? And I'll tell you what's going on in here.
Right.
The yoga and lifting all of this is going to get any blockages also moving. But, and then kissing spine is these bones being too close together and these bones being too close together, which gets pulled like this when this drops.
Okay.
So make sure he has both first ribs in. And when
Yes.
you squeeze up on the withers, nothing should be sore. You scratch there, it should pop up. If it doesn't, then you just lift all the ribs on one side and lift all the ribs on the other side. And then you check the hips. Yeah.
Yes.
Try and figure out how to, this goes hand back there.
Yeah.
You see the hips are in alignment. Sorry, it's a little hard to figure this out when I don't actually have access to a horse.
I can imagine.
Oh, you're on lockdown. Okay, with no horses. Let's do some horse webinars.
I learn on him. He let me to learn on him. So I hope that one day I will be able to help him.
Good.
Mm.
And then
Thank you very much.
coming up, you guys are coming into winter. So first rib goes out every time they run through mud. So you need to check that. Remember, I have that video where you just do, and it's not a, when you're checking for the first rib on us, I have a video for us too, so here's your collarbone.
Yes, I've seen that.
Here's T1 and the first rib's right here, and you can just go, we can push it down. You can't do that on the horses. But when you're just here on that gallbladder 21 on the horse, it's just the tip of your fingernail with a wiggle, 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 no reaction, wiggle, wiggle, it goes away. I always tell the students to look at the pectoral muscles. So if you're underneath the horse, I say, look at the boobs of the horse. If those shift, that's a reaction for the first rib. You can push hard enough to make the horse move, but it's just a check and a check. Because as soon as the first rib gets pulled out, all of that gets pulled out.
Okay.
So when I would go feed my horses, I would just check first rib. I would squeeze there if it's sore. I would lift the shoulder. I would scratch under here, make sure all the ribs come up, and then I would just check the hip alignment.
Every day, really?
Well, it would take me 60 seconds while he was eating.
Yep.
I just, if this is sore, then I lift that, I lift this, and I check the hips. That way you don't have to do the yoga. We would do the yoga before we would tune them up and ride them. Or if we're doing a 50-mile endurance ride, we do it before and after, because that stretching, when you go exert yourself and then you fall asleep in the chair, that's when you wake up stiff, or the horse is locked in a paddock or a stall and they can't move around. So that whole yoga is to get the lactic acid out and to stretch and reset everything. So once you're fluent with the body work, you just check withers, mid-ribs, and hips, because that's what's standing on the 4 hooves that are out of balance. So once we reboot the whole horse's body, you have a body in alignment on 4 crooked feet. And that's so that's shifting them back out. So every day I just check withers, mid-ribs, and hips until the horse is standing square on all 4. As soon as you have one hoof in front of the other,
No, he's a funny one. He's probably the most straight horse from all I've got here.
Good. And you can always send me pictures. I do the long distance readings if you want help. Or if you just say, I think I got everything. Did you see if I got that rib or, what stuck? You can always just send me a picture.
I definitely will. Very soon.
This is how I can help you till I can get there.
That's amazing. You made a huge change in my horse's life, really.
And hopefully yours too, right? Because now you're out
yes,
there
mine too.
hard and you feel good about checking your horses and pushing here for Atlas and Axis, right? You push there.
Yeah.
I've got the sun,
Absolutely.
so it's messing up with everything.
Mm.
So we will do another one of these, and I'll give you, we'll set a time. You guys can get together on that email and what's a good time. Morning's better for me. As you can see, the sun's hitting in here, which kind of messes stuff up, but we can make it work. And then we'll kind of go through the middle part of the workbook. Okay.
Okay.
You guys all get this recording and then remind me the Atlas Access and the oils class.
Thanks, April.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I'm only one email away.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.